the final, there have been a lot of things happening, but the final thing was last week's BBC Panorama investigation into the Swiss banking operations of HSBC, which was almost hardly mentioned in the Telegraph, whereas it got enormous play in many other papers. So if I could respond to that Telegraph statement, they say that there is no link between advertising and editorial. If they're going to sustain and accuse me of making unfounded allegations, fine. If so, please, the Daily Telegraph must explain, not to me, not to you, to its readers, what was the editorial basis of its decision to give no coverage at all on day one to the HSB story, and 6 paragraphs at the bottom left on day 2. It needs to explain that to the readers. What were the editorial decisions? If they weren't, they look to me like they're, I cannot understand the editorial reason for that decision.
So be clear for us, what exactly are you alleging?
Well, there is a pattern here. Can I talk about HSBC for a little while? I mean, The Guardian makes a remarkable revelation today that when The Guardian started to investigate HSBC in the last couple of weeks, the advertising account from HSBC was paused, i.e. the advertising stopped, I presume, as The Guardian was investigating. The same thing happened when the Telegraph investigated a very similar story involving HSBC in Jersey 2 or 3 years ago. Advertising was stopped. Now, I'd like to ask HSBC, what were the reasons for stopping the advertising in the Telegraph 2 years ago? And what was the reason for stopping the advertising in The Guardian 2 weeks ago? It needs to explain that, because it looks to an outsider as if HSBC is doing something very, very troubling, which is using its advertising as a leverage to get soft coverage in newspapers. This raises very serious issues about the free press.
Does a newspaper, therefore, and I'm assuming your answer is going to be yes to this, does a newspaper need to justify its editorial guidelines? Does it need to do that for its readers?
Well, the Telegraph, particularly the Telegraph, it's still a fantastic newspaper. It's a great newspaper for more than 100 years. It's been famed for its fairness and the accuracy of its news reporting. Now, if it wants to maintain that reputation, it really must explain to its readers what's been going on. I believe, by the way, I would call for the Telegraph to institute an independent inquiry into the relationship between its advertising department and its editorial department.
What would you hope to get from that?
Well, we need to understand what connections there have been. Has there been pressure from advertising onto editorial? And it needs to be an independent figure who would do it. I'd love Charles Moore, the former editor, greatly respected, to do this, who'd just be clear what pressures have been put on reporters, on editors, by the advertising and commercial side.